Pull up a chair, dim the lights, and let me tell you a story. A story about sound, obsession, and the wild, beautiful accidents that changed music forever. Forget what you think you know about rock and roll, about pop anthems, about any piece of recorded music that's ever made your heart thump or your feet tap. Because before any of that magic could happen, two men, separated by circumstance but united by an unshakable belief in what could be, had to essentially invent the future. Welcome to FX Studio 2, your source for industry news, audio engineering tutorials, and insightful discussions. Our tale begins with a wizard, not Gandalf, not Merlin, but a guy named Les Paul. Now, Les wasn't just a guitar player. He was an alien from the future disguised as a Wisconsin jazz cat. He looked at a guitar and thought, how can I make this thing sing louder, longer, stranger? He was tinkering from childhood, stuffing phone pickups into acoustic guitars, building his own recording devices in his garage. This wasn't just a hobby, it was a fever, an absolute all-consuming madness for sound. Today we have a special treat for you. We invited music historian Strum Gibson to walk us through the rest of this story, a story about a legend and his huge contribution to the industry. So, without further ado, let's welcome Strum Gibson.
Thanks, Anna. To begin, let's go back to the late 1940s, when Les was already a star. Playing with his brilliant wife, Mary Ford, he was doing things on record that made other musicians scratch their heads. How was he getting those layered harmonies, those dizzying guitar duets with himself? The truth was, he was literally reinventing the wheel, or more accurately, the tape machine. See, back then, you recorded everything live, straight to a single piece of wax or tape. One shot, mess up, and you started over. But Les wanted to play with time. He wanted to capture one guitar part, then play along with that part to add another. It was a crazy idea, like trying to have a conversation with yourself yesterday. His breakthrough? A guy from Ampex, Ross Snyder, gave him one of their very first professional tape recorders. Les, being Les, didn't just use it. He immediately modified it. He stuck an extra playback head on it, right next to the record head, so he could record a track, then immediately play it back while recording a new track on a separate machine. He called it sound on sound. This was the primordial soup of multitrack recording. He was effectively recording layers of sound, building up an entire arrangement note by note, instrument by instrument, all by himself. It was revolutionary. It was a cheat code. It was pure genius.
Wow, Bill, I've been in this industry a long time and I've heard about this before, but I never knew that Les Paul was that involved. Please continue with the story.
Sure, Anna. And this is where things start to get really interesting. Suddenly, the limits were gone. A single musician could sound like an orchestra. Mary Ford could sing harmonies with herself like a choir of angels. The fidelity wasn't perfect, but the idea, the sheer audacity of it, was breathtaking. He wasn't just recording music, he was sculpting it in real time, like a sonic Michelangelo. And every single record you've ever loved, from Sgt. Pepper to your favorite hip-hop track, owes a debt to Les Paul's garage experiments. Now, let's pivot. While Les Paul was busy stacking sounds, another visionary, a meticulous sound alchemist, was wrestling with a different beast, dynamics. His name was Bill Putnam. If Les was the mad scientist of layering, Putnam was the surgeon of sound. He ran Universal Audio, a company building incredibly precise audio equipment, and he was frustrated by recordings that lacked punch, that sounded thin, that couldn't contain the raw power of a great performance. See, in the early days of recording, if something got too loud, it would distort, clip, sound awful. If it was too quiet, it would get lost in the tape hiss. Engineers were constantly riding faders, trying to manually keep everything in a sweet spot. It was a delicate, often frustrating dance. Bill Putnam, ever the innovator, wanted to automate that dance. He wanted a device that could smoothly, quickly, and musically control the loudness of a signal. He wanted a compressor. Compressors existed, sure, but they were often slow, clunky, and audible in their operation. They sucked the life out of the music. Putnam envisioned something different, something fast, something almost invisible in its action but undeniably powerful in its effect. And in 1967, he unveiled it. a sleek, silver box with big, chunky knobs and an iconic VU meter. He called it the 1176 limiting amplifier.
Yeah, I think anyone watching knows about the 1176. It's a studio staple for any serious recording studio owner.
Absolutely correct, Anna. The 1176 was a beast. It used field effect transistors, FETs, which were relatively new at the time, to achieve lightning-fast attack times. It could grab a signal, tame it, and spit it back out with an incredible amount of musicality and aggression. It didn't just compress, it added a certain zing, a punch, a character that engineers had never heard before. It made vocals soar, drums snap, and bass lines rumble with controlled power. Suddenly, tracks that once sounded wishy-washy or unruly had presence, energy, and an undeniable, in-your-face quality. From rock to R&B to pop, the 1176 became an indispensable tool. It was on Led Zeppelin albums, Michael Jackson records, the Beatles. Everywhere. If Les Paul gave us the canvas to paint on, Bill Putnam gave us the brushes that made the colors pop. So there you have it. Two visionaries, a few decades apart, yet both relentlessly pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Les Paul, with his homemade multitrack marvels, allowing us to stack sounds into glorious sonic tapestries. And Bill Putnam, with his elegant, ferocious 1176, teaching us how to make those tapestries truly sing, to give them power and presence. Next time you hear a perfectly layered harmony, a drum beat that punches you in the gut, or a vocal that just sits perfectly in the mix, take a moment. Close your eyes, and remember the mad scientist in his garage and the meticulous engineer in his lab, because without them, the soundtrack to our lives would be a much, much quieter and far less exciting place.
Wow, like the old saying goes, now you know the whole story. That was truly inspiring, Strum. Thanks for the great history lesson. And thank you, our YouTube audience, for watching. We'll be back next week with the next chapter in this series of videos, so be sure to subscribe and hit that bell button below to get notified when that video drops. Until then, from all of us here at FX Studio 2, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep creating.